Welcome to the Circuit Court for Talbot County, Maryland. I'll turn it over to Judge Ernest.
Good afternoon. So I'm Bo Ernest. I'm the acting administrative judge for this circuit court. And just a brief explanation as to why I'm called the acting guy. I actually used to be here full time once upon a time, and I reached a mandatory age of retirement some years ago, and I was duly replaced by a new judge, and we had one of these ceremonies for Judge Steve Kehoe, who became the acting administrative judge and full-time administrative judge, and all went very well for a few years until, lo and behold, Judge Kehoe got himself appointed to the appellate court last spring. And some folks came to me and said, do you mind just being the acting administrative judge for a little while? It was March of last year, and I said, sure. So here I am. And I can assure our new worthy judge who we're here to celebrate that nobody, even you, are as excited about your investiture than I am. I'm ready to return to blissful retirement. But before I do, I have a few active administrative things to do today. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce this gentleman to my right. I was hoping he'd wear that fancy red robe that they give to the special judges. This Chief Justice next to me, Matthew Fader, is Chief Justice of our Supreme Court of Maryland, the highest court in our state. Why didn't you guys wear your red robes today? But here he is, and we are honored to have him here. We don't get the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court on all these ceremonies, just for special people like the upcoming Judge Cronan. To his right is Brenda Sexton, the Honorable Brenda Sexton, I should add, who is Chief Judge of the Second Judicial Circuit. She presides up in Cecil County in Elkton, but she has jurisdiction over a 5-county area, including not only Cecil County, but Kent, Queen Anne's, Caroline, and Talbot. And we are pleased and proud to have her here on the bench as well. I would like to also recognize the many judges who found their way here today, no doubt dodging difficult cases back home in their home territory. The judges to my right, who are sitting in what's usually the area for our juries, are our active judges who are here today, and I'd like to recognize them. They don't have to stand up and you don't have to applaud, but when we're all done, everyone can give them a nice round of applause. I'm going to start with a hometown girl, Justice Brenda Booth, who made good all her way to that red-robed arena where she is a Associate Justice of our highest court in the state. In addition to Brenda, we have her husband here today, who's going to be, he's not a judge, but he has an even better job. He gets to speak, and nobody will interrupt him. We also have Judge Steve Kehoe, the guy that sabotaged me and brought me back here. He's over here. He's now in the appellate court. We have Harris Murphy, the Honorable Harris Murphy from Kent County, who is the administrative judge there. We have Lynn Knight, the administrative judge from Queen Anne's County. We have Bill Jones, the administrative judge from Dorchester County. We have 3 judges from Wicomico County, it being the largest place on the shore for a circuit court. We have Kathleen Beckstead. We have Matthew Maciarello, and we have Karen Dean. So we welcome them as well. Also present today is another distinguished jurist, John Morrissey, the Honorable John Morrissey, is the Chief Judge of the entire District Court for the entire state. I don't know how many courts he has, but we're glad he's here today. Thank you, we're honored. We also have another local hometown lady, Judge Karen Ketterman, who is a judge here in Talbot County on the District Court. We have the Honorable Melvin Jews, who is a District Court judge from Dorchester County. We have the Honorable John Nunn, who is a District Court judge from Kent County. And we have the Honorable Frank Cradaville, who is a District Court judge from Queen Anne's County. I think that's got everybody on that side of the room. If I missed anybody, raise your hand. I got them all. On this side, the guys that were not wearing robes because they are retired judges, but they actually have it all over this group because they are senior judges. And being a senior judge is the best of both worlds. If you still want to work, but be careful what you ask for. If you still want to work, we welcome them back to all the circuit courts. In fact, they can sit in other courts. They can sit in appellate courts and the district court, and they do a marvelous job. And I am so pleased that there's so many of them here. And many of them, the majority of the folks you see sitting over here, and I will identify them, were able to come in and help me out during the last 8 or 9 months, for which I was greatly appreciative. But among our senior retired judges, we also have another distinguished judge, Joseph Getty, who was the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, now retired. We have Chris Kehoe, another one of the famous Kehoe brothers. Chris and I shared some room here together for the last few months. He's still working in the appellate court. God bless him. We also have some retired circuit court judges. We have Sid Campen, who I succeeded back in the day. We have Karen Jensen, a senior retired judge from the circuit court in Caroline County. We may have Brett Wilson. I haven't seen him, but maybe he'll show up, who was on my list anyway, who is a retired circuit court judge from Dorchester County. We have Kerry Deely, who slipped in here, even though he's not an Eastern Shoreman, I hasten to add. He is from the circuit court for Baltimore County. However, he made up for it by, in his retirement stage, moving to Oxford, Maryland, right near Judge Sid Campen, and he has kindly consented to helping out here. We're glad to see him as well. We also had Doug Evergam, a retired district court judge from Caroline County. And I think I got them all. Paul Bowman arrived. Paul Bowman wasn't on my list, but I spotted him across the room. He is a retired circuit court judge from Kent County. Danny Long. How did I miss Danny Long? Hey, Danny Long is probably the most popular guy. Danny Long, everybody knows Danny from his legislative days when he was a politician, but he saw the light. He went to the he went to the court, and he actually became our representative to the legislature because they treated him as one of theirs. But we are glad that Judge Danny Long is here as well as a senior judge. We also have some magistrates here. Those of you who are not familiar with magistrates, they are lawyers who work in the circuit court. And they do a marvelous job, and they're sort of the unsung heroes of the circuit court, really. They aren't called judge, they call magistrate, but they function just like a judge in many ways. Jamie Adkins is here. Jamie is the magistrate for Talbot County Circuit Court, and she does a wonderful job. They have to take on all those domestic relations cases, God bless them, and keep the wolves at bay from the circuit court judge. Craig Sewell from Caroline County is a magistrate, I believe, who is here. Yes, there he is. And Connie Marble, the magistrate from Wicomico County, is here. We also have some elected officials. If I missed any judges, raise your hand. I think I got them all. I am told that Andy Harris, our congressman from the U.S. House of Representatives, may be present now or later. I don't see him, but it's a big crowd. But if you see him, you'll know that's the guy who is meant to be here. Senator Johnny Mounts, our state senator, I believe is here. Yes, there he is right there. Welcome. We have a couple of delegates, Chris Adams and Richard Hutchison from the Maryland House of Delegates. Thank you all for coming. Joe Cole, our elected state's attorney for Talbot County, is here. Patty Campen, the Register of Wills, and the spouse of Sid Campen, I might add, is here. She's the one that looks like the trophy wife. Yeah, that's the one. Pete Lesher. Pete Lesher is here, the Talbot County Councilman. Thank you for being here. We have some clerks of the court, also elected officials. Kathleen Duvall is our very own Talbot County person. We also have Terry Lord from the Circuit Court in Caroline County as the clerk, and Amy Craig from the Circuit Court from Dorchester County. We also have Orphans Court. Does anybody here know what the Orphans Court is? I'll give you a hint. They don't deal with orphans, but that's the name they go by. It's the probate court for all intents and purposes. They are elected officials. Phil Foster and David Wheeler, I believe, are here. Thank you for coming. There are other officials who probably are no longer on my list. If I've missed anybody, thank you for coming anyway. And now let's give a round of applause to everybody who we mentioned. I'm going to, before I turn this over to the Reverend Nash for the invocation, I just want to make a few general remarks from a guy who's first came into this courtroom. That would be me over 50 years ago. So what I hear frequently, and I guess what we all hear, is we live in troubled times, and that these troubled times have affected the court system as well as every other thing. And there may be some truth to that, but what I'm going to sound is an optimistic note, because the truth of the matter is, if you know about the history of our judicial system, and in particular this county, which I'm focusing on, we've always lived in troubled times. You know, you don't have to go any further than out the front door, and you see evidence of it out there on the courthouse green. There's an historical marker that marks the place in 1774 where the Talbot Resolves were created. And the Talbot Resolves was a local group, came right to this courthouse before we even had a circuit court, and resolved to express solidarity with the folks in Boston who had just conducted the Boston Tea Party. And it spread now. They did one down in Kent County, a Kent County Tea Party not long after that. Well, we all know what followed, a Revolutionary War. And that was a tough way for the next 250 years to start, but the circuit courts came along and have survived all that 250 years. And I can assure you that there were troubled times during that 250 years. As you all know, 80 or 90 years went by and we had a civil war. And some terrible things happened. It was probably the worst time in our 250-year history. Some good came out of it. Slavery was abolished. There's a statue out there of Frederick Douglass, and it's a reminder of what slavery and the abolition of slavery was all about. There are other monuments out there in the courtyard that you may or may not have ever noticed. There were wars, and it's sad, but there are monuments to World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War, and Korea, and the names of all the local citizenry who died in all those various campaigns. So yes, we've lived through a lot of troubled times, and the court the whole time managed to function here, not without trouble sometimes, but we got by, and justice was administered here throughout all those difficult times. Well, Phil, I'm trying not to paint a bleak picture. What I'm trying to paint is a picture of a living, breathing system of justice that you are inheriting. It's had its ups and downs, for sure, but it's still a marvelous system. The jury system that we have, when we have these jury trials in here, and I've seen a lot of them, it's a marvelous thing. And we take it for granted, but a lot of places, as you know, most countries don't have a right to jury trials. So we are very fortunate. You are going to have a lot of weight on your shoulders because this is a one-judge county. And there are half a dozen of them out of all the counties in the state where we have only one judge. And you could say that that puts an awful lot of weight on your shoulders, and I suppose it does. But the way I look at it, it's also a marvelous opportunity. You can put your stamp on the system of justice here. You're the face of justice, at least in the circuit court. And there are things you can do not only to perpetuate this system, but to enhance it. And I think most judges coming along try to figure out how to do that. And they all leave thinking they had the best job that they ever had in their lives. I have to mention a couple of other things because you're not alone. You've got a great support system in this county. You've got a district court judge, Karen Ketterman, who I introduced, who sits only a short distance from here, and she really takes the brunt of all these cases that come flooding into the court system. Only a few of them come from her to us. So she's a buffer. Take advantage of it. And she's great help. You have a magistrate, Jamie Adkins, who works here all the time, and she'll work with you and for you. And believe me, she deserves a medal because she deals with these domestic relations cases on the front lines, and they are hard. But she clears the decks, and now some of them will come to you from her. People take exceptions, but believe me, you don't see half the misery that she does. We have, I mentioned an orphans court that handles the probate courts, and they do such a good job. Patty's outfit down there, very few of those cases even come into the circuit court. People are happy with what the orphans court does. Keep it up back there, guys. When the jury trials come in here, they are a relief to the circuit court judge. He can call the balls and strikes and let the jury decide. In those cases where people want a court trial, you have to be even more on your toes, but you'll figure it out. We have a system of sheriffs and bailiffs who protect this place and keep order, and boy, we owe them a judge of debt. They're here in the courtroom and downstairs and all around protecting us and keeping the peace. We have a clerk's office that Kathleen runs that works like a well-oiled machine, so much so that when this county and the rest of the state converted to electronic records, some of us old guys had no idea how to do that. Well, they figured it out, and they even taught some of us old guys. And they keep things humming, and they are a godsend. Well, in conclusion, you're going to have a lot of help. So don't despair. It's on your shoulders, but take advantage of it. And I'm sure that the governor has chosen wisely and that you will find a way to not only maintain the system of justice in this county, but to enhance it. Good luck. And now, I would like to call on the Reverend James Nash to come forward and present the invocation.
Well, Your Honor, just one thing. If retirement doesn't work out, you could always do stand-up, because you really had us laughing, so we really appreciate it. Let us pray. Oh, before I do that, I just want to, on behalf of everyone at St. Peter and Paul family, just want to congratulate you, Phil, and the whole family on this really wonderful occasion and your rise to this position. So congratulations, and you are in our prayers and continue to be in our thoughts. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, we come before you this day and every day of our lives to give you thanks and praise for the many blessings you have bestowed on each of us. In this country, we are blessed with a justice system that continues to strive to be always fair in its dealings with the public it is called to serve. This day, we celebrate a great advance in the area of fairness in the investiture of Philip Thomas Cronan as a circuit court judge for Talbot County. We ask you to continue to bless Phil and his entire family on this new and exciting journey. Bless Phil especially with ever greater wisdom, and fill him with your grace that he may always know the power and the responsibility of his office. Help all of us to support him and remind him that this community is always there for him and his family. We make this and all our prayer in your most holy name, God, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Nash. At this time, I'd like to recognize Chief Justice Matthew Fader, Chief Justice of the highest court, the Supreme Court of Maryland.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Acting Administrative Judge, for how many more minutes? Ernest. Circuit Administrative Judge Sexton, members of the bench, members of the bar, elected officials, Judge-Designate Cronan. I think I'm the last person who officially gets to address you that way. And Judge-Designate Cronan's family and friends. I'm not used to having people tell me I'm not loud enough. Good afternoon on this very happy and warm day. I say warm, referring not to the weather outside, which, although it's much better than yesterday, still is a bit cold. I'm talking about warm, referring to the feelings in this room. Even in jurisdictions in which they happen more frequently, a judicial investiture is a special thing. Here, where they are appropriately infrequent, it's especially special. The formal definition of an investiture is formally investing a person with honor or rank and establishing them in office. And that certainly is correct. Judge-Designate Cronan is being invested today with honor and rank, having successfully navigated the arduous process of becoming a judge in the state of Maryland after an impressive legal career that earned him the skills and reputation that has brought him to this position. But an investiture is also an opportunity for Judge-Designate Cronan to reflect, and for all those others of us who are fortunate enough to wear these robes to reflect again on the great privilege it is to serve the people of Maryland as judges. I'm sure many of you have heard tale of the dreaded disease of robitis, sometimes called black robe disease, when people who put the robe on somehow might come to view it as making them better or above those who might appear before them or work for them. That, of course, has it 100% backwards. The robe that we wear is a symbol of service, of subservience to the rule of law, of an unwavering commitment to equal justice under law, and of service to and for the people who walk through our hallways and our courtrooms every single day. Justice Thurgood Marshall once cautioned, we must never forget that the only real source of power we as judges can tap is the respect of the people. An investiture is a great opportunity to reflect on that message and on what it means to be able to put this robe on and go to work for the people of Maryland and Talbot County every single day. So I'm here to offer my congratulations to Judge-Designate Cronan on all your achievements to date, which I look forward to hearing more about soon, on attaining this role of privilege and service, and on being willing to assume the great responsibility that comes with it. And to everyone else, I offer my welcome to these proceedings, of which I am very proud to have been invited to play a part. Thank you.
Thank you. now recognize the clerk of the court of the Circuit Court for Talbot County, Kathleen Duvall, who will administer the oath and constitute the swearing in of the judge.
My pleasure. Okay. Judge-designate Cronan, would you like to come up and become Judge Cronan? All right. This is truly an honor. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Philip Thomas Cronan,
I, Philip Thomas Cronan,
do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will, to the best of my skill and judgment,
and I will, to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of Associate Judge for the Second Judicial Circuit of Maryland
execute the office of Associate Judge of the Circuit Court for Talbot County, Maryland,
according to the Constitution and laws of this state,
according to the Constitution and laws of this state,
and that I will not,
and I will not,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
receive the profits from any other office
receive the profits from any other office
during the term of my acting as Associate Judge for Talbot County Circuit Court.
during my time as acting as the Associate Judge for the Circuit Court for Talbot County.
Perfect. You passed. And it is my honor to present you with your beautiful commission from the state of Maryland as our judge.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I have a couple papers that I would need you to sign to make this officially official. This is the oath that you just took, if you would be so kind as to sign that. We were sweating that commission. It came at the 11th hour yesterday. And then if you would sign this card that we send back to the Secretary of State. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
it's going to be our pleasure to work with you.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.
Now, don't go anywhere, because the next thing we're going to do is the robing of the judge. So we're going to invite your family, Genevieve, Jackson, Catherine, and Madeline, any or all of the above, to come forward and present the robe. See if you can help him figure out how to get in it. Now, Judge Cronan, before you go anywhere, now that you are the administrative judge of this county, I am retiring and I want you to take my seat. Come on up.
believe we lost our MC.
Good afternoon and welcome. Chief Justice Fader, Retired Chief Getty, Chief Judge Morrissey, State Court Administrator Root, distinguished jurists of this court and others, public officials, colleagues, and friends. I want to start by also recognizing Phil's family. I'm sure they're thrilled to be here today. And I must commend Jenny, Catherine, and Madeline on their smooth robing of Judge Cronan. Given a similar experience about 5.5 years ago, there are some very nice pictures of my son tackling my wife and me attempting to choke her to death. So I am honored to speak here today. It's the first time in at least 5.5 years, and probably longer, that anybody wanted to hear anything from this booth. Bear with me, I'm usually a bullet points and wing it kind of guy, but on an occasion of this importance, given the request of Phil, I did prepare some remarks, but I'm not used to doing it this way, so bear with me. I would like to comment and commend the other 6 applicants for this position. As Chief Justice Fader alluded to, the process to become a judge is not inconsequential. It involves exposing your life, good, bad, and otherwise, in a judicial application. You're then invited to interview with specialty bar associations from around the state. These people don't know you, don't know anything about you, and are free to ask you just about anything. After that, you speak in front of the local bar association, who does know you and most everything about you. And finally, you end up in front of the Judicial Nominating Commission, which is probably a combination of both. So, overall, the process is akin to jumping out into traffic, because you never know where it's coming from. So, my hat's off to Christina Sutley, Chelsea Enzel, Keisha Peticolis, and Mary O'Donnell for their efforts in applying. Now, all the candidates were great, and the 3 who were nominated by the commission to be interviewed were very impressive and very highly qualified, and they each offered different skill sets for the position. Either Peter Cotter or Tammy Stofa would have been an outstanding selection to be our judge. Governor Moore was fortunate, as this community is, that he really couldn't have made a bad choice. However, it is a testament to Phil's life's work to date that he was the choice. Now, I first met Phil after he started his clerkship right here in this courthouse. I think we first crossed paths playing basketball in the early morning at the YMCA, but I distinctly remember my first professional interaction with him, which was early in the morning on September 11th, 2001. I had to call the court because a case that was coming up for trial and had a bunch of motions was pending to let the court know. Judge Horne was pretty particular about not having a dark courtroom. And so I was doing my duty to call the court and let them know that the case came out. And a few minutes later, literally, the day became quite memorable when planes started flying into buildings in New York. Phil had the luxury of, I say luxury, I'm not sure that that's the best word, of clerking for Judge Bill Horne. And I'm sure that year was very formative in his legal career. Judge Horne was a giant of the law and an even better man who was respected by governors, legislators, and the judiciary and public across the state. I know that he would be immensely proud that his judicial legacy now includes another clerk assuming the position in his former chair, just as he's proud of his former clerks, Judge Karen Ketterman and Justice Brynja Booth. In finding his own style, Phil will undoubtedly incorporate the best aspects of Judge Horne's able stewardship of this court in a one-judge county. But with his steady and even temperament, he will be absolutely unable to recreate those judicial qualities of Judge Horne that scared us lawyers to death. Shortly after I met him, I came to learn that Phil grew up in Southern Maryland. He was an outstanding athlete who spent a year at the local community college before being recruited to play Division I baseball first at the University of Pittsburgh, and then at East Carolina, where he completed his baseball career. His first foray into the real world after that was in early childhood education, teaching grades kindergarten through second. He told us during the judicial selection process that that experience made him uniquely qualified to be the circuit court judge here. My observation is that his experience in teaching also apparently drove him quite rapidly to the University of Baltimore School of Law. Upon completing law school, he worked for Judge Horne. After he completed his clerkship, he did civil work and then prosecuted in Denton. He then started his own practice here in town. He was joined later by our state's attorney, Mr. Cole, and he enjoyed practicing for many years at his office on Dover Street with our colleagues Cronan Fronk and Bill Hollis. Jake Worm was there as well. He took on an extensive range of legal matters and developed a very broad range of legal skills and has appeared in almost every circuit court and most district courts in this state. He's been a gracious resource to me on my sporadic friends and family criminal matters over the years, and he was my opponent in the one and only divorce that I've ever done. He also, in his career, devoted significant time to the leadership of the Maryland State Small Firm and Solo section of our Bar Association, and with the State Board of the Public Defender, and with the board that oversees the Attorney Grievance Commission, who disciplines lawyers. So going back to the personal side of things, I learned shortly after I met him that Phil and I share some other qualities. We both ended up in Easton somewhat randomly, having both found jobs here. Those jobs caused us to drag our spouses along to this town. And I also learned that we share the quality of having married our high school sweetheart / prom dates, whom each of us coincidentally started dating in 1988. Phil's wife, Jenny, is a lovely person, and together she and Phil have 3 wonderful children, one of whom was too sick to make it here today, Jackson. She's also an educator, although she stuck it out for much longer with her first profession. Phil's son, Jackson, is one of my favorite kids that I ever coached in basketball, and he probably knew more about the sport then than I do, and even now for that matter. Phil's middle child, Catherine, is in the honors program at Phil's alma mater, and she's one of the nicest young ladies you'll ever meet. The youngest, Madeline, is, well, the youngest is always the strongest, and from what I've heard, she plays that role well. I believe Phil and Jenny have been to virtually every travel volleyball venue in the DMV in the last few years, only getting a break because of a blown ACL. On his judicial application, Phil listed his first 2 hobbies as spending time with family and coaching high school and youth sports. And that is 1,000% accurate based on everything I've seen over the years. In any place, a trial court judge plays an important role in developing and protecting the fabric of the community. In a one-judge county, that role is even more important, as Judge Ernest has told us, and I'm sure Judge Jensen will share with us momentarily. Since Judge Horne, we have been blessed with Judge Campen, Judge Ernest, and Judge Kehoe, and similarly so in the district court with Judge Adkins and now Judge Ketterman. Our governor made the wise decision to entrust Phil with fulfilling this very important role here. As Phil told us during the process of his application, he has been very intentional about the way he developed his practice, his legal life experience, and the ways in which he expended his personal and professional energy with an eye towards making himself prepared and qualified to assume this job if he could get it. As Judge Ernest said, it will be a heavy burden, it'll be a huge weight to carry and an enormous responsibility. But no pressure, Judge Philip T. Cronan. But we know you'll hit a home run. Congrats, my friend.
We'll now hear from Judge Karen Murphy-Jensen.
And the first thing I'm going to do is rearrange the furniture. I just want to be able to see Phil a bit. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Karen Murphy Jensen, a senior judge from Caroline County. Chief Justice Fader, Judge Sexton, Judge Ernest, Jenny, Catherine, and Madeline. Hello, Jackson. I know you're watching, right? From a sick bed. To all my colleagues from the judiciary, all of the friends, members of the bar, I am honored to bring what I'm calling the judicial charge to Judge Philip or Phil Cronan. Now, Phil, by my count, since I arrived on the Midshore in 1983, you are the 7th in the line of exceptional jurists to serve as Talbot Circuit Court Judge. Judge Clark, North, Horne, Campen, Ernest, and Keogh. And I must mention that without the good sense of Bill Horne, who hired you as his law clerk in 2001, you would have been the fish that got away. But wait, maybe not. Phil, I've always thought of you as my almost law clerk. I interviewed Phil in 2001 to be my clerk a whole 1 year after I got appointed to the bench. I was not only impressed with his school record, that he had been an elementary school teacher, that he played college baseball, and you have to know that Owen Wise loved that about you, because he loved baseball. But Phil was personable and direct, he was down to earth, and he really, really wanted a trial clerk judgeship because he wanted to learn and observe and become a litigator on the shore. Now, when I told Judge Horne that I planned to offer Phil the position, he quickly told me, quote, "No, you are not." I am offering Mr. Cronan the position of law clerk. I nodded in deference, but in my head, I was yelling, "Dang it," or maybe something a bit stronger. But Phil, it worked out beautifully for you, as Judge Horne was a terrific mentor. Plus, there were much better lunch spots here in Easton than in Denton. Now, fortunately for me and all of us in Carolina and the Midshore, you elected to stay here. And within a few years, you came back to Carolina as an assistant state's attorney. So for a little over 2 years, I actually had a front row seat to watch you develop your trial skills and that intangible and aspire to quality of professionalism. After you left to go back into private practice, I continue to have the good fortune to see you in my court, and as I sat around the state as a retired judge, I was happy every time I saw you in the courtroom. Now, descriptions of Phil as a lawyer were always consistent. A man of integrity, a man of his word, well-prepared, smart, patient with difficult clients and difficult litigants, respectful, liked by your fellow lawyers. And Phil, I will always be most grateful for your years of representing children in the most highly contentious family law cases, giving them representation and a voice, and when able, protecting them from the stress and conflict that comes with those cases. You were always a go-to person for these assignments, and you rarely said no, so thank you. Now, looking at your career as a lawyer, Phil, you are well prepared for this job, and I think different people, especially Kurt, have talked about your practice. As has already been referred to, Talbot is a unique court. We're that of a one-judge county. There are only 6 other jurisdictions in the state that share this, and there will be a quiz afterwards to see if you all know what they are. Hint, hint, they're all on the Eastern Shore, save one county. So my colleagues from multi-judge benches would always have a hard time in speaking to me because they said, "How do you do it all?" And I said, "I don't know, we just do it all." But look around, you're not gonna be doing it by yourself. Look at all these new colleagues, both active and senior judges, ready to jump in and help to guide you and mentor you, so you will never be without support. That support will come from your staff, including the indomitable magistrate Jamie Atkins, and of course the hardworking clerks. They are the motor that keeps this court running, and I'm so happy to hear that your longtime administrative assistant, Sonia Kearns, will be the next court administrator. Where are you, Sonia? There she is. I have it from a good authority that your kids for a long time thought that Sonia was your boss. Hint, hint, she really is your boss. Missy Gallagher is still my boss. All right. Shortly after I retired and joined the ranks of the seniors, I was asked to address newly appointed judges at the judge orientation, still fondly referred to as baby judge school. The remarks were intended to be lessons learned from my 16 years as a trial judge. Some were humorous, some were serious, so I dusted those comments off, and I'm going to pass some of them along to you. The first two I learned, or should I say I heard from my father, Bob Murphy. Don't sit any longer than 2 hours at a time or your back will go bad. Take your vacation days, for you need time to relax, decompress, and refocus. While I am happy to say I tried very hard to follow this advice, I will tell you my dad wasn't very successful, Chief Judge DeStater, in following his own advice. Keep a sense of humor, not at the expense of lawyers or litigants, but allow yourself to smile or be amused by what can come your way in any given day. It will help you keep grounded and it will stop you from taking yourself too seriously. I'm going to give you some of my favorites. A self-represented litigant in a criminal case who rapped his closing argument. The bumblebees that flew from the courtroom ceiling every spring and bombarded people. And finally, the time I accidentally tossed a well-used Kleenex onto the lap of a testifying witness, overshooting the wastebasket, but even more comical, the witness kept on testifying as she picked up the Kleenex and handed it back to me. So you can start collecting your own stories, and when you're having a particularly challenging moment, such memories will help you remember that real life happens in this courtroom. Now to the more serious. Don't hold on to your decisions, and that includes making a decision as expeditiously as possible, but also once you make that decision, let it go. Some decisions are harder than others. You're going to wrestle with some. Others will keep you up at night. I read this quote from Justice Scalia, and it still speaks volumes to me. If you are going to be a good and faithful judge, you have to resign yourself to the fact that you are not always going to come to the conclusions you like. For if you like them all, you are probably doing something wrong. Stay connected to your community, and I have to say with the security concerns of late, this is a hard one. But fight, fight, fight to keep yourself an active part of all aspects of life here in Talbot and beyond. And I mentioned this at Judge Wise's memorial service a few weeks back. Develop the art of listening. Listen more, talk less. At the end of the day, and I've heard it said time and again, that what litigants remember is whether they were given the opportunity to be heard and that the court showed them respect and treated them with dignity. And lastly, remember, it's not all about you. It's quite a head trip to have people rise when you come into a room, that you are addressed as judge and the honorable, that you get recognized at public gatherings. But what you represent is the institution of Maryland's judiciary, and the respect you are shown is the people's respect for the courts and its judgments. Alexander Hamilton, yes, the Alexander Hamilton from the Broadway fame, observed over 225 years ago in one of the Federalist Papers that the judiciary has neither the power of the sword nor of the purse, but only that of sound judgment and the people's respect for that judgment. I want to keep my last words for Jenny, Jackson, Catherine, and Madeline. This journey that Phil, your dad, is embarking on is your journey too. You, his family, will always be his anchor, and home will always be his safe haven. So Phil, Godspeed. May God grant you a great balance of justice and mercy, and may you always walk humbly. And now I think it's over to you.
Well, I think everybody stole a lot of my thunder in my remarks. I'm deeply honored to stand before you or to sit before you here today. I extend my heartfelt gratitude for each of you spending what I deem to be one of our most precious commodities, and that's your time. It means so much for me that you are here. somebody recently told me, I was telling them about this process, and they said, well, this will be the last time that you have two people in the courtroom at the same time say nice things about you. And so I'm very happy with the two speakers who were willing to stand up for me today. I've known Kurt and Judge Jensen really since my first days here on the shore as a lawyer, and thank you both for your kind words and your friendship. I will try to be quick, but I want to thank and recognize a few people. That is what is most important. First and foremost, I would like to extend my sincerest thanks to Chief Justice Fader, retired Chief Justice Getty, Chief Judge Morrissey, and Court Administrator Roop. Thank you all for being here. Your presence is an honor, and it's a testament to your commitment to the judiciary and the success that we realize as the judiciary in Maryland. Thank you, Judge Sexton and Judge Ernest, for your very wise and kind words. And to my fellow judges, I'm honored to be sitting alongside you. It's been a long journey, no doubt, and you have all set the bar incredibly high, and I look forward to the challenges ahead of us. And I want to thank each one of you who have reached out to me. You've all been so supportive and encouraging over the last 5 weeks. And it's made a tremendous difference to receive text messages every day, and emojis, and calls, and emails, and just grounding me, but also letting me know that, you know, this is okay, that it's a process, and you've all gone through it. And Judge Kehoe, I want to thank you for your service to Talbot County, for your fine example, and for taking a new job. To our distinguished guests, which are really all of you, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us. Your participation enhances this event. It underscores the importance of our shared mission to enrich our community through public service. I want to offer my special thanks to Senator Moutz and Delegate Hutchison, both of whom I'm sure shirked very heavy responsibilities in the legislature to rush over here and be a part of this. I know that wasn't easy. I am profoundly thankful to Governor Moore for the honor he's bestowed upon me. It is a privilege that I do not take lightly, and I am committed to upholding the trust he placed in me. Now, about my family, I was going to make a quip at this point that Jenny and I moved here in 1997. I think this would have been the first time that we've had all of our family here at the same time, and Jackson has bailed. So he sits at home with last we heard, 101-degree fever, but he is certainly, buddy, you're here with us in spirit, as you always are. And I'm sure, as Judge Jensen noted, that he's watching on YouTube. I want to thank my mother for teaching me that generosity is the surest way to make a difference in the world. And I want to thank my in-laws, George and Bea, for guiding me with your faith, for always being with me and showing me the right path. And to the rest of you, in your own way and with your own words, you've all had a tremendous influence on my life, and I'm blessed and very grateful. Jenny, I can't express how grateful I am to have you in my corner. I can't imagine doing this job or any job for that matter without you by my side. Your faith, your words of encouragement, and mostly your words of caution are my beacon. Thank you for your sacrifices. They are appreciated more than I know how to express. Catherine, Madeline, and Jackson, thank you all for making the job of parenting enjoyable, for being my biggest cheerleaders. Your mother and I are so proud of you. You have made our life's journey an exceptional one. And like Kurt, recognizing all of the other applicants, I want to recognize them as well, and I want to especially recognize and thank Tammy Stofa and Peter Cotter. I would not describe the process of the judicial selection as enjoyable. but I am grateful that I have shared it with such remarkable individuals. I would like to acknowledge our chambers team. I'm very excited to begin our work. The clerk's office, who I've known some of them for as long as I've been here, the IT people and maintenance and anyone else I'm forgetting, I'm sure that I am, and I apologize. But your dedication and the work I've watched you do over the years and in the last 2 weeks since I've been freely allowed to walk in chambers is really inspiring, and I know it will lead us to great work. I vividly remember my first time in this courtroom as a law clerk for Bill Horne just over 23 years ago. I shared my first day with many of you out there. Sonia was in chambers, as was Marilyn Salisbury. Alyssa and Judy were in the clerk's office. Buddy, I think, was still in the same seat where Buddy always sits. And for reasons I'm not entirely clear, Sonia has graciously stood by me for most of those 23 years. And I'm eternally grateful, Sonia, for all that you've done and suffered. I'm thankful that you're moving forward with me. And I am confident that you will keep me out of trouble and continue to be my boss. It is a true gift to come full circle to where I started my career with old friends and new faces, and I can't wait to get started. Judge Jensen stole my Justice Scalia quote, literally the whole quote. So what I had written was that Justice Scalia had said that the judges who always like the results he reaches is a bad judge. And that quote resonates with me because it underscores the importance of impartiality and adherence to law. As judges, we must administer justice free of personal bias or prejudice. And as a judge, I promise I will work hard. I will remain committed to following the law, to judging fairly, and treating everyone with dignity and respect. In conclusion, I extend my deepest appreciation to all of you for your support and making this occasion so meaningful. Your presence here today is a testament to the community we have built together, and I am honored to be a part of it. Thank you all. Please be seated.
Reverend Nash will give the benediction.
The Lord be with you. And would you bow your heads and pray for God's blessing? May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may he always fill you with his peace. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen.
I meant to remind everybody that there is a reception to which you're all invited. It's at the Academy of the Arts, 106 South Street, a few blocks. If you don't mind the cold, you can walk it or you can drive. Anything further, Your Honor?
I look forward to seeing you all there. These proceedings are adjourned.